Okay, so we're going to go over how to get this lens off and take the IR filter out from the lens. So the first thing that we're going to need to do is we're going to need to grab something sharp and get it marked so that after we take this lens off, we are able to focus the lens again. Okay, so we want to mark the camera here for focus so that when we take this off, we're going to be able to go back afterwards and line it up with where it was. So if you just grab something sharp, you can kind of scrape it and mark it here. Okay, so you want to kind of start to twist this off, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey style. And you want to slowly kind of turn those threads. They're really fine threads, so make sure you go slow. That's the kind of the lens cover. I recommend you keep that on while you're working with this. Okay, so once you got it off, you can kind of see there's that red kind of square on the back of the lens, and that's what we need to get off. That is the infrared filter, so that blocks the infrared light that we're going to need to see in the dark. So basically what you want to do is pop that out with something sharp. So I've got this it's kind of like a pin, and there's 4 little spots you can see where the filter is glued down. So I'm running this pin through the glass to try and scrape that glue off and kind of break that filter up. There's another piece of glass that's kind of a domed piece right behind that filter that you want to be really careful not to scratch. So work away from the middle of the lens until you've kind of cleared all those corners off and you're able to get underneath it and pry and kind of get that lens the rest of the way out. You want to be careful not to get any of the shards of that filter glass kind of in between the red filter material and that lens underneath, because it can scratch fairly easily. So try and make sure you're just getting underneath that and getting that stuff out of there. And you can kind of see here how it's starting to break in the middle, and I'm just putting a little tiny bit of pressure and trying to kind of pry that stuff outwards without scratching anything underneath. Just be patient and kind of go slow and take your time. Okay, so once you get that filter off, you're done and you can put it back on. And we can kind of continue on, and the next part of this video is going to show you kind of how to wire everything up and how to put the rest of the goggle together. Okay, so this is your button, the latching switch. This is going to be your power port. Positive gets wired to the pin on top with the red, negative gets wired to the bottom pin. This is what that looks like. So you can see that red is lined up with that positive cord. And then you want the red upside down in your battery box, so you can kind of see that here. So that when you plug in your cord, so the red lines up here and here. So this lid on the battery box is just kind of fits over like that. And then of course, you know, you got your battery. And I left these connectors on it so it can be charged, these little JST connectors. And then this just slides down in here. And then those get stuffed, essentially. And then the lid goes on. So then in here, you're gonna have your switch wires. And so the switch, I just have the negative terminal from this port and here going to the switch. So I have 2 wires coming off that negative terminal going to the switch in here. And then I have the 1 positive wire coming off of this 2-pin terminal to give power to the units. So when you have your battery plugged in, you've got your battery here. And that's plugged in. And then this gets plugged in here. Then you have power. So here we have the right side main goggle body. So the camera's gonna go here. You can kind of see this has been cut out for it already. Fits in there like that. And then it's gonna kind of just push in like that. And then put our cover over it to hold it in place. So then once that camera and cover are there, holding it in place, and there's this 37mm clear lens protector. Gets threaded on afterwards, kind of protect everything here. We're looking at this side. You may want to do some filing here on these corners, so you don't want to have to force that screen in. You also may have to remove a little bit of material down here, just depending on the tolerance of your printer. There were supports up here, so it doesn't look super great, but I figured I'd rather have it look bad on the inside than on the outside, so that's where we're at. All right. So looking at the screen here, I've glued a small thin piece of tinted polycarbonate up there just to kind of soak up some of that brightness that you can't get rid of with these little screens. And so when you go to put these in, you know, they really only go in one way. That's this way. So you kind of want to line them up in here. And depending on what side you're working with, kind of depends on the angle, or gives you the angle that you want. So on this one, you know, this is the right side, so you kind of want it angled more towards your right eye. And then, you know, just be careful as you're pushing these in there that you're not hurting that ribbon or anything. This ribbon cable is really delicate. And then just be careful with these as well. I'm gonna put a hole over here on top of this goggle, and we're gonna route these wires from the screen up through that hole, and then they're gonna come up and meet these wires, and that's gonna give them their power, their positive, negative, and then we'll run the camera through the front, and then let's take a look here at this. This is that IR light, that IR torch, and so that's just gonna kind of come in here for now and be like that. Trying to figure out a way to extend the button so that it can be pressed from the outside, but as it sits, you know, you kind of just have to turn your torch on and then stuff it in and just use it like that. Okay, so we got our hole in this now. Again, this is going to be for those camera wires and those board wires. So I'm going to show you with this screen kind of how we're going to run those wires through, and then I'm going to take that screen out and put this one in. This screen's actually broken, so I'm going to handle this one and show you kind of how to hook everything up, and then I'll hook everything up to the main screen that is not broken, and then show you how it all works. Okay, so you can see we got the wires running up through there, like so, and then the screen is just going to gently get kind of press fit into its home, you know, making sure that board is there, again making sure that ribbon cable is safe, and making sure you're not smashing the these wires down here too bad. Thing I want to show before you fit the screen in, super important that we put this board on here. This is how we control our camera. So this comes in and connects to this guy right here. And that lets you really dial in these settings on these cameras here. So then you really want to run these camera wires down and through before we do the screen. As you can see, they don't really give you a ton, so you're gonna not have a bunch left over up here. So just, you know, take that with a grain of salt. You're gonna want to leave this camera out a little bit. In the process of taking that off, we want to make sure it's focused. So anyway. Okay, so that's done. Go ahead and get the screen in there. Get that ready to go. Okay, so now that we got the screen in, put this piece over. So this piece is going to kind of hold everything into place here. You want to try and line up that hole, you know, like that, and kind of click into place. Don't worry about it if the hole's a little bit off. You can kind of move it to the side as you put your screw in. All right, so we've got our screen in, we've got our wires run, we've got our the visual piece in here. Okay, now for my purposes, I'm not ready to seal this up and glue it and all that stuff yet, so I'm just putting this screw in to hold it kind of gently. But when you're ready to seal everything, you're going to want to put, you know, a good glob of Flex Seal or something like that kind of around this area, and then here, and then in that hole, and then all around here. You know, you want to glue that and seal it up really good, you know, kind of when you're sure you're ready. Don't over tighten this, you know, it is just going into plastic, so it'll strip. Do yourself a favor and try not to over tighten that. Okay, so once you're to this point, you're ready to kind of put your goggle into the holder. So we're gonna kind of go over how to do that. So with your holder here, you've got kind of two options. You can go the threaded rod route, which is, you know, kind of option number one. That'll fit in here. It'll fit into the goggles. And you'll need one of these. This is an aluminum threaded deal. And basically you'll just press this in here to this hole right here. So you've got a threaded hole, and you can make adjustments on where you want your goggle. Now, I found that this rod, just this, you know, smooth rod, actually works better because you can slide the goggle and the friction kind of holds it in place. Up to you. If you want the threaded rod, you want the knob on the end, you want to be able to adjust it like the real deal, build it like that. You want to be able to just slide the goggle left and right as you see fit, build it with the plain rod. But either way, when you get ready to install your goggle, you want to slide it in the slot like so. Being careful not to smash any of your wires here. And then take your rod and just kind of twist it through. This is a little tricky because this one has paint on it. But in any case, you can see that it's where it needs to be now. So before we put our stuff in there for good, let's get these wires taken care of. So I'll show you how to run these so that you're successful when you set it up. So black and your yellow, your thick yellow and your thick black. So these are from the board itself. Are going to go together, as well as your black from the camera. So you've got black from your board, yellow from your board, black from your camera. All three of those go together. So yellow from the board, black from the board, black from the camera. Next, let's hook up our positive. So positive is going to be red from the camera, red from your board. Then your other positive and your other negative is going to come from your battery power. That'll make more sense here once we get it in the deal. So red and red, black and black, with yellow from the board. Now your last connection that you need to make here in the goggle is going to be your yellow from your camera and your white from your board. This is your video signal. So again, to recap, you're gonna put red to red, black from your camera to your black from your board, and your yellow from your board to your black from your camera, and then your yellow and your white together. Now, notice here I've got one of these taped off. That is the yellow and the white. This is the video signal. There's not gonna be any more connections to this. So only two connections we need to make, red to red and ground to ground. Okay, so it's gonna be difficult to, show you guys how this is gonna go on, with this way that this is set up and how small everything is. But essentially, you're gonna take your reds from your goggle and you're gonna mate them with the red from the bridge. Now I'm using orange as my ground because that's all I had. We recommend using black. Okay, so we got our reds together, so our positive. Put a little piece of electrical tape on that. These should be soldered in your projects. I'm just showing this for an example. I'm not ready to permanently do all this stuff yet, so you guys will have to bear with the electrical tape. This last step here is going to be, your two grounds. So you got a ground from a camera, you got your ground from your board, from your screen, and then those are going to go to the orange wire. And again, that orange wire is coming off the switch. The switch is our negative ground, coming off of our power port, our 2-prong limo power port. Okay, so you got that all hooked up. Everything should be squared away and done. So now what we're going to do is we're going to test everything out. So we got our battery right here, and then we're going to do our power cord here like that, and then going to come over to the bridge, plug in here. And then, as you can see, we are working. So last step here is going to be to put your lens in. So, and it just goes in like this. Not like that. Anyway, it press fits in there, can't do it with one hand. You can adjust your distance. The last thing to do is to put it all together and then get it on your face and get everything adjusted.